Most common mistakes that new artists make when creating and posting content. Let's talk about it. Now, before we get into what you're doing wrong when it comes to posting and creating content, let's talk about myself. I have a little bit of authority on this matter. I have over 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, about 30,000 to 40,000 on YouTube, and I have multiple music projects that are fairly successful. And though music is my full-time job, one of my other day jobs is doing social media marketing for a doctor here in town, where I grew his TikTok from 0 to over 3 million followers in less than 5 years. Now, with that in mind, I want you to keep this in mind. Nothing I say in this video is the objective truth. Everything that I'm going to talk about today is not the gospel, okay? Take it with a grain of salt, because the thing is that I want to reiterate over and over again is you can go on YouTube all day and search up music marketing gurus, and they can tell you the step-by-step cheat codes to find yourself success, okay? That's not what I'm here for. What I'm here to do is tell you guys my experience, the experience that I have watching other artists and what they've done and the mistakes they've made, the mistakes that I've made, and the things that I've done to find success. That way you guys can find your own path and figure out what works for you, because that's what it comes down to, guys, okay? It comes down to what works for you and your music and your audience, and it's all different. I really hope that that makes sense, and over the course of watching my videos, I hope that even if it doesn't make sense right now fully, like, you will grasp what I'm trying to say. Because that feeds into what is our first common mistake, which is thinking that just because a piece of content worked for another creator means that that piece of content is going to work for you. A lot of times artists will go on TikTok or Reels or whatever social media platform that they're trying to promote on, and they will see something that worked for an artist, and then they will try to imitate that, and they will get their hopes up, and they will think that, oh, well, this worked for them, surely it will work for me. And even if they get better results using that trend kind of content, it doesn't necessarily pan out the way that they had originally thought. They thought that they found a cheat code, and the thing is that there is no cheat codes. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you getting ideas from other content creators and trying to create that content. I'm not discouraging either, getting inspiration from that and putting your own spin on it. In fact, that's what I would rather you do. If you're going to take something from another content creator, throw your own spin on it. Because you'll find something that works really well, like a trend, you could call it a meta, that works well when promoting our music, and everybody starts doing it, and the more and more people that do it, it kind of gets played out very quickly, and these things die off very, very fast. And so even if you see that somebody had posted something and it worked for them and you saw it on your feed, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's working now. So what can you do to revise it or throw your own spin on it? That's what it comes down to. Now, the next common mistake that I'm going to talk about is, I want you to put yourself in my shoes, okay? I'm swiping on TikTok, and then all of a sudden, like, I have my volume at full max, and I got a skit here, I got a skit here, maybe I got, like, some information here, and then all of a sudden I swipe up, and there's a wall of sound that immediately comes at my face. And this is when you start a song, when you start your clip, your music, off with everything at the loudest volume that the track can offer. What common people do is they immediately swipe. This is why you're gonna get less than 3 seconds watch, because people are not interested in just being jump scared when they're searching on TikTok. A lot of times you have to think about how you would react if you saw a piece of content like that. Most likely you would swipe, unless it has to be, it has to be really, really, really good and really catchy, or something that is grabbing the attention, whether, visually or even with the audio. But even then, I highly discourage this because it's just annoying. Listen, at the end of the day, we are salespeople, okay? And if I'm a salesperson and I'm going door to door trying to sell a product, I would not run to the house and start banging on the door as loud as I can in order to get their attention, and when they open it, I'm screaming at them. That is basically what that content is to somebody that's swiping on TikTok. One, you are definitely selling something, especially if you're lip syncing or something like that and showcasing that you're the one who made the sound. But it also just comes off obnoxious and, like I said, annoying. What's the remedy to this? Have an intro. Lead them into something. Have them almost think maybe that it's not even about the music necessarily. Maybe we're leading into some kind of, trend or something like that. Like, you're not necessarily from the jump presenting that this is a promotion for music. And then the drop happens like 3 to 5 seconds in that can showcase the music part. When it comes down to it, you have to get out of your own bubble. You have to look outside of your own box and see kind of how you would react to certain TikToks and how you would assume that other people would react to certain things. Like, for example, which leads us into our next common mistake, how long does the average person swipe and look at a video? Usually you would probably think about upwards to 3 seconds because they're just swiping and swiping, right? But even if something interests them, how long does it hold their interest on average? Well, this is a pretty nuanced thing, and it's not something that we can just pinpoint like this is the perfect length for showcasing music. But for me, a good rule of thumb is that 15-second mark is a good indicator of like what most TikTok sounds are. Once you start getting past that, you need to be having some kind of switch up in the sound or something visually happening that is going to captivate the audience. So my personal sweet spot, and listen, guys, take this with a grain of salt. It's not for everybody. But mine is about 13 seconds. And the reason I think that this works is it's that 15-second rule, but it's a little bit behind that so that hopefully we get 100% viewed, or at least as close to it as possible. Usually that's pretty unattainable, especially with what we are kind of creating here. Because at the end of the day, like, we are selling a product, and if we are not like telling a story or, showing something shocking to the audience, it's hard to get everybody to be interested in what we're selling. So we just want to get at least a small portion of those people, that audience, to really buy into what we are selling. I've had videos pop off to 500,000 views just from about a 15% of the audience watching the full video. Like, 15% watching the full video is pretty low, I would assume. But even then, it pushed it enough to where it got that many views. So, like I said, in the end, guys, what we are making is not for everybody. We need to understand that we are not always going to get the best comments. We're not always going to get the best engagement. We're not always going to get conversion over to our Spotify. What we do this posting content for is so that we can teach these algorithms who our audience is, so that we get better and better and better results over time. If you don't make any of these mistakes, I'm not saying that it's going to lead to your amazing success. All we're doing is trying to avoid leading the algorithm into the wrong direction. The algorithm needs to know what audience your music is for, and if the audience that you're trying to reach are not engaging because you've made some of these same mistakes that I've mentioned in this video, then that's a problem. So like I said, I'm not in the business of giving you guys cheat codes, but this is maybe a path around some roadblocks that you guys set up for yourselves. Overall, I hope that you guys got a lot of value out of this. I'm gonna leave this one with you guys, and let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and if you guys have any questions, maybe I can make a video about it. So anyway, Zilla out.